G'day crew, nice to have your company. It's the Round 4 Mailbag edition. Goat Fantasy brought to you by checkmyrates.au. Visit the website, it's free to use. Take control of your financial future. Brandon and the team will help you get a better home loan rate. Alright, so Mailbag dropping this morning, and there's plenty to get through as always. Thank you for your responses via X. So Olivia Calvi, hi Goat, any thoughts on the job security for Watkins, Lindsay and Farrow? So Watkins, CBA's down last week, but he's been playing pretty good footy, mature body. I think hopefully he's going to make us some cash. And then hopefully the move this week is just Brody out for Wines, who warmed up nicely in the sample this week. Lindsay, it's hard to ignore the fact that he was dropped after round 1, but he was certainly good last week. And I wonder if they're trying to move past sort of a Tom Cole in that position and go a bit younger. And if that's the case, then that's good news for Lindsay. One to watch at selection this week at West Coast. And then Jacob Farrow was really nice on debut. That left boot is definitely lethal. And if an Essendon are going the youth policy, you'd think he's going to get a decent run in the side, especially with Redmond out. VC3, any thoughts on whether Carroll gets dropped after the bye? Already replied to this one for VC3. But initially, I was hot on Carroll in the pre-season, and then probably as it got closer to the start of the real stuff, just got spooked by Ross the Boss. And probably even what happened to Angus Hastie last year. Seems like a position that he's willing to cycle through. But yeah, that sort of idea of him being the Webster replacement, that perhaps, increases his job security from a defensive perspective. But I think he'd be a good one to trade this week, to be honest. Brenton Eckersley, is Luke Parker a legitimate, cheaper mid option rather than one of the top dogs? Already have Nick and not interested in Bont at this stage. The plan is to flick him to the back line when DPP is released. Honestly, I think this is a really underrated move. He's clearly got the back roll, and he's shown a bit of a ceiling against Essendon last week, although they do give up a lot to defenders. But the way him and Colby were just sharing the ball, really promising signs. Caleb Daniel in the forward line, Fino Sullivan in the midfield. They've cleared out a bit of space, and they've certainly cleared out a space for him in the back line. And I think they're trying to get the youngsters in the midfield, so it seems like that's the way they're going with Parker, and he's buying into the role. So with DPP coming, that extra bit of flexibility, the ability to use him in the back line, I think he's an underrated option this week to save a bit of coin on the big dogs. Lauren, thinking track to Bolton for a high reward move. Low break even and should make cash while Young is out. Gives me an extra week to look as to whether to bring in Farrow or Lindsay. Yeah, and I think the consensus this week is that there is no absolute must-have, knockout, guaranteed money maker. Like, we just can't make... There's no decision on a rookie that feels like he's a must-have. So therefore, is it the week to tinker a little bit, make a couple of moves with more mid-price players to try and find that right balance and just wait for the right rookie to jump off the page? Because the mid-prices are ideally going to make you a little bit of cash as well if you can get on the right ones. So Bolton, I like the idea of buying into a role, class player, whilst we know Hayden Young is out, and the scoring just looks fantastic. So he's done it before. I had him in draft, I reckon, that when he first went into the midfield for Richmond. So he can absolutely be a high value, high reward move here as the track trade. And yeah, an extra week to look at the rookies, I think, is a good move. Damon, is Colby a must-have this week? And Bailey Smith or Bont, can you pick one? Colby's not a must-have because his price isn't going to get away from you, but I think he's just going to score well against Carlton. So therefore, it's a nice week to bring him in because hopefully you get that instant reward. And of course, he's so well priced. I think you break even sort of in the 60s. And then Bailey Smith or Bont, I would lean towards Bontempelli just for the safety in terms of durability. But the ceiling of Bailey Smith is extremely enticing. But there is a potential headache in your life as to whether he gets up and plays each week. Of course, you have to wait all the way until Monday to see him play on Easter Monday against the Hawks. So good luck, Damon, if you're going Bailey Smith. Dino, is Reeves a pathway to hold Xerri? Means I can run Coleman, Reeves, Bont, holding Xerri, or trade in Petracca to Grundy, English, Jackson, and Bont. I don't mind the Reeves play because he's scoring well in Supercoach, even though he's part of a 2-ruck setup. The question is, are you happy to hold Xerri after he's just dropped a really low score against Blackiston? Like, does that concern you at all about his real ceiling? So he scored well against Flynn, but most rucks do. Is it possible that it's a bit of a false dawn with Tristan and perhaps he is going to be a bit down this year? So that would be the thing I would be considering above all else, is that do you really trust Tristan Xerri to be the superstar high-priced player in Supercoach that he currently is, based on the evidence that you've seen so far? All right, Louis, which one? Keep Windsor and get Colby for Sharp and get Nakos/Bont for Parish, or keep Sharp, get Josh Dacos for Windsor, get the Bont for Parish? I'm going to go option 1. Colby in, Sharp out, and Nakos and Bont in for Parish. I don't think you can go wrong with either. But I guess if you don't get Nick this week, he's coming off a corky, a short break, and a Thursday night game. Maybe you can wait to your next upgrade for Nick. Balupa, with track now being 1-3, should I just hold him? Yeah, I don't know how many questions there'll be about Petracca here, just because the initial tweet about the mailbag was a couple of days ago. But I think the crucial thing with Petracca is, so I've been told it's more at the higher end than the lower end. So the chance of him missing only one more game seems unlikely. But the training reports that we read were that he moved really well yesterday, as in Wednesday. I think Damien Hardwick, when he speaks, it's important to listen to his update on Petracca. So I think any decision on him, you can just wait at least to listen to Dimmer. It's high risk to think that he's going to be back next week coming off the hamstring, which we were told was medium term. Right now, he's only been out long enough for it to be a low-grade hamstring. But in Supercoach, there's certainly, it feels like there's a reward to hold. In AFL Fantasy, the possibility of him missing another 2 weeks, it feels like a big risk with a lot of money on his head. So, yeah, I think let's listen to Damien Hardwick. And of course, I'm not there watching training, so I can't make these definitive calls on players, outside of Victoria without seeing them run around. I'm basing it off what people tell me and people at the club. So that's the difficulty with Petracca right now. So I wish you the best of luck if you choose to hold him. Gusto, Todd Marshall listed as 1 to 2 weeks. Are we better off trading? I think in fantasy, you can trade Todd Marshall. I think you could still probably just leave him on your bench in Supercoach. Maddie says, speak for yourself. Us poor ex-owners, that's in reference to not having too many forced moves this week. So if you've got Tristan Xerri, that sucks. Max Gorn's sitting there right for the picking, I reckon. Parish getting dropped is interesting. We'll ask Brad Scott about that today, and we find out Thursday night, of course. But he hasn't had a great 3 weeks. I wonder how much sympathy the coaching staff will have for him at sort of getting readjusted to the pace of the game. South Crom Albion, is Jack Carroll to Watkins a play? Hate Port side could get a shake-up. Yeah, I think just wait for teams. But Watkins could be a play from Carroll this week. I think, you're going to make some more money out of that. Henry Blebby Williams, Josh Lindsay job security. Yeah, it's reasonable but not amazing because we've already seen that Minnie's willing to drop Lindsay. I'm just having a sip of my coffee. Matty M, WA, the dream state. All right, let's have a look at his trades. He's got Sharp to Bontempelli and Steen down from Windsor. I'll tick that off, absolutely. They love Steen. good start to his career. How far off is Sam Cumming? Unsure if I should double downgrade Carroll and Parrish this week. He's a test this week, Sam Cumming, so we might see him play VFL for the Tigers, and you'd think he'd probably get 1 or 2 weeks to make sure the shoulder's good to go. And then every chance we see him in that Tigers team because he's a gun. Digby, thoughts on Miller to McKercher and Gallup to Moore? Absolutely love that. That's the trade of the week, Digby. John Banter, does Riley O'Brien make the team? And if so, would it ruin McAndrew's scoring? Well, that's TBA. It certainly puts a massive ceiling on it. There's talk that Riley O'Brien hasn't been named in the Sandful team for Adelaide, so that might mean that they're considering either having him as a holdover emergency for Friday night or that he's in the team. So, yeah, this is a massive watch tonight at teams. The fact that we have best data in scoring means that we can perhaps delay the decision, take an extra week at least of data before we make any definitive decisions in that R2 position. Philina Garouge, love your work, Drew. Coleman or McKercher? I'd go McKercher this week, and out of Farrow and Josh Lindsay, I think you can't lose either way on those two. Simon Stacks with Nick Bryan coming back through VFL. Could Blackiston get dropped next week? Absolutely, he could. There might only be one more week of Blackiston. So the thing is that we have lots of defender rookies, so you can cover him even if he becomes a red dot until we're ready. But he might just end up being a move to Farrow next week if Bryan is back. Colby Roll update from Ethan, played in defence at training, and I think you'll get a bit of midfield time as well. Dog, g'day Goat, draft related with Briggs struggling under the new ruck rules. Surely Madden comes into the equation soon. I think there's every chance we'll see Madden in the team post-bye for the Giants. Nathan H, Watkins or McKercher? Yeah, just go Kirch, take the points and you'll get a bit of cash gen. John Smith, Shea Bolton, love Shea. I think if you held Petracca, he's a potential move, and if you want to upgrade Dev Robertson or get out of Lockie Dolverston, I think Shea Bolton would be great if you've got the cash. Baroni, why has Baz never scored well against the Hawks? I think traditionally the Hawks midfield isn't easy to score against. You know, you've got some responsible guys in there, Newcomb and Nash and Ward. So perhaps that's the reason. Maybe it's just a weird anomaly. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Baz drop a 140 on Easter Monday, to be honest. He's in great form. Fantasy Fanatic, any intel on Rosie's return late in the season? Apparently he verbally said 12 weeks, but is there anything more concrete? Port haven't released anything post-surgery in terms of a time frame. Anything to do with a tendon repair can be anywhere from 12 to sort of 16. So I think ultimately in draft, you're not going to see Rosie until the very back end of the year, so hopefully you can survive. Daniel Stock, can I hold track and move Bruin early? Yeah, look, I don't think you need to move Bruin yet. I think you still got cash to make. Obviously, the nose severely hampered him last week. Petracca, all I can share is the intel that I've been given, which is that it's more towards 3 than 1. But maybe he's made great progress in the last day or so. So let's, I think any decision on Petracca, let's just wait to hear from Dimmer. And then Ben Hayes, Farrow v Watkins. Let's listen to Brad Scott's presser today on Jacob Farrow and see if he gives any thoughts and updates about how much job security he has, how good his debut was, all that sort of thing. And then watch teams with Watkins. But I actually like both of them, to be honest, so I think you can't lose either way, Ben. That is all of the mailbag replies that we've got. So let's wrap this one up. Appreciate your time on Goat Fantasy. I'm out on the road today at Essendon, so updates a little bit later on, and we'll have our normal round preview with Warnie coming up soon. It feels like a big day. There's a lot to play out, particularly in the R2 space. So stay tuned on Goat Fantasy for all the latest updates. Appreciate your company. Chat soon.